Our Supervisor Lindsey Horvath has been with us for previously and has done quite a good job on things that she's accomplished in the past. She's on our third district supervisor. That covers, by the way, 446 square acres, ranges from Ventura County
Square,
line to Santa Monica,
square,
Hollywood, and Silmar and
square
San.
miles. Sorry.
I'm sorry, what was that, Dennis?
Square miles, I believe. Right?
Would I say
Yeah.
something different?
You said acres. Yes.
Oh, thank you,
That'd be
square mile.
small.
Thank you. It's square mile. That's different for sure.
Yeah.
Correct me when you find that I'm wrong, which is quite
I'm just
often to it.
just trying to help.
Thank you. Our supervisor was born back in 1982 in Ohio. I grew up in mostly in Ohio and Las Vegas as well. Before she went off to the University of Notre Dame. She attended Catholic school in Ohio and private school in Las Vegas. As a teenager, I understand that Gloria Allred and Hillary Clinton were her role models. We got to meet them later on. While at Notre Dame, you were a registered Republican, but switched over to the party affiliations to Democrat in 2003. Graduated from the University of Notre Dame in 2004, cum laude, with a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science and Gender Studies. As supervisor, you're the first millennial and the only renter that's currently serving on the all-women board of supervisors, bringing a much needed perspective, I think, to solve the regional problems that are going on with that. We're pleased to have you here. Thank you for spending your evening with us. We understand that you have a hard out at 8:30 tonight, so we'll try to get as many questions in and what have you. The floor is open to you as I try to get rid of some of the things I have on my blog here. But anyway, the floor is open to you, Supervisor, and tell us about what the differences are between the LA City doing things, what differences are that you're able to do, and what you're working on, what the best successes you've had, and talk about some of the failures too.
Thank you, John, and thanks to Dennis and Marty, to Shelley, Colleen, and everyone here tonight who decided to join in our conversation. I really appreciate the warm welcome and the opportunity to collaborate. I know when we last had our conversation, an issue top of mind for everyone was homelessness. I think it continues to be. I think it's one of the things that plagues us throughout the Los Angeles area, to be honest. And so we got right to work, not only declaring a state of emergency to make sure that we were cutting through the bureaucracy that exists inside the county, but I put myself at every seat, at every table, in the very disorganized organization, I guess you could say, of all of the services that address homelessness, and it's just a mess. And so we have been hard at work. I spent 2 years serving on the LAHSA Commission. I don't think that's congratulations. I think I was the first elected to put myself on there. I think it was more of condolences, and I saw firsthand and up close just how broken and dysfunctional the organization was, and so made sure to make requisite changes. We, along with Supervisor Barger, we had launched an audit of LAHSA, which uncovered a lot of what has been reported, and most importantly, as after the passage of Measure A, have really taken to heart the public's call for accountability on dollars and how we are delivering services and solutions to this crisis. And so for my part, I believe the county needed to lead by example. So instead of investing the county's dollars continually into LAHSA, which has not delivered the results that people have wanted, and I think that's putting it kindly, we reclaimed those dollars, are bringing them back into the county. We are establishing a unified department to address the homelessness crisis. You will perhaps not be surprised, but I was pretty shocked to find that the issue of homelessness is addressed across 14 different departments inside the county. So if the process of trying to address this crisis has ever felt like crazy making, it's not you, it's us. And that's why we are fixing it. We're consolidating those efforts into one clear department, and we're happy to welcome Sarah Mahan in as our director. She has previously led what has been the most successful program in the county, getting people off the streets and into housing and services and keeping them permanently off the streets, which is what we've been looking for, and making sure that she's scaling up that program. And by having the county resources to be able to do that, that is our focus. We know that mental health issues are a component of this crisis, and so just this week, I asked for a call on the progress that we've been making on implementing SB 43. The county delayed full implementation of this Senate bill that passed, not because we don't have a very obvious crisis on our streets, but because I felt the bill and was lacking in terms of how we were going to implement it. And we heard this week that the counties that have already led in implementing SB 43, which is the bill that the state authorized to expand conservatorship and address mental health crises and some of the addiction issues that we are seeing in our communities through a conservatorship process. Counties that have implemented this actually haven't seen the numbers that people had expected. And our Department of Mental Health actually predicts that once fully implemented, if the county saw about 75 people annually who would qualify for this distinction under SB 43, that was a very conservative number on the high end. So that's not the tool that we need. Although we want every tool in the toolbox, we know more work needs to be done. We've been focused on accountability and results, and I'm happy to talk more about how the county has been leading the way. Of course, in the city of Los Angeles, to answer your question about what is different within the city limits, it is the city that leads on calls for service with regard to homelessness and encampments and what have you. However, we do work with the city, and in fact, another motion I led was to create a coordinating effort. You would have thought by now, far before I got onto the Board of Supervisors, that such a thing existed, but it didn't. And now we have a centralized location where someone from every department and every, both city and county, and every agency, LASA, law enforcement, what have you, that addresses this issue is all in one room. It's finally being coordinated. We are tracking the data and, most importantly, the dollars, and finally getting the accountability the community deserves on this issue. Happy to speak in more detail about that. As you know, we also, in addition to Measure A, we successfully passed Measure G, which brings long overdue accountability to the county governance structure. This will expand the Board of Supervisors to 9 seats. It will create a directly elected executive, separating out the executive authority from the legislative authority that currently all resides within the Board of Supervisors right now. It creates public county budget hearings. We had public hearings on the county's budget for the first time in county history this year, thanks to Measure G, and more transparency, more accountability, creation of an ethics commission, an opportunity for you all to have more of a say in what county government should be doing or shouldn't be doing, is exactly why we wanted to see Measure G passed. Again, the county governance structure hadn't changed in earnest since 1912, when there were more cows than people, before many of us had the right to vote. And so the long overdue reforms are finally coming to bear, and we're excited to work with you and make sure you own that seat at the table. In addition to my role on the Board of Supervisors, I serve on the Metro Board. Some of the major transit projects, the D line sections 2 and 3 is looking at completion in 2027. The G line improvements also in 2027. The East San Fernando Valley light rail line, the North San Fernando Valley transit corridor, which will have fewer than 10-minute frequencies, which is good. We need more cars to serve more people. Obviously, also the Sepulveda Transit Corridor Project and the K-Line Project. All of these are within our very broad district, which you've identified. So having a seat at the table, at the Metro table, has been important to make sure that the Valley gets its fair share, but also because we need accountability on safety and security, and making sure that not only do we build these lines, but people can feel safe when they access them. We secured $1.2 billion for the 3rd District in fiscal year 26 alone, and that's over 50% of Metro's expansion budget invested right in your communities, right here in our district, thanks to your partnership and our working together to make sure Metro did that. Obviously, a big part of our work this year has been on fire recovery, but September is also Emergency Preparedness Month. And so we are hosting community events to help educate the community on what you need to be prepared for, what kind of information you need, and how you get connected to those sources of information well in advance of when you would need them. For more information on where and when we are holding those events, you can go to our website, lindseyhorvath.lacounty.gov. I'm happy to talk more about what fire recovery has looked like, but I want to make sure, that we are spending the bulk of our time on your questions. So I think I'll put a pin in it there, and John, let you lead the way to make sure we are getting to the questions that are really top of mind for people right now.
I don't have any questions because you did such a great job. No, I do have questions.
Now I know that's not true.
Yeah, right.
Let's go back. Let's start, if you will, on some of the more, I guess, not complicated, but in the weeds a bit.
Sure.
This has to do with you expanding, motion to expand the supervisors to 9 positions. You indicate there's going to be a separation between the legislative and executive functions of that. Tell us about that. What is that really going to mean? Who's going to handle? I'm assuming that you and the others that are now coming on will be the legislative portion to it. What are you going to do with the executive portion, or am I wrong?
So currently, the Board of Supervisors functions as the legislative, the executive, and sometimes quasi-judicial body for all of Los Angeles County. There is no government like it on the planet. We in the United States are used to 3 branches of government and having those branches separated. And LA County, for whatever reason, hasn't separated out those authorities. And as a result, we've seen a lot of what I would say bureaucratic malaise, and quite frankly, long overdue change within the county structure. I would say governance deferred maintenance.
Who's going to handle the executive then?
And so we separate out those authorities. You will have the ability to elect the executive for all of Los Angeles County. Right now, the CEO is appointed by the 5 supervisors, is answerable to us. That is the person who drafts your budget. It is the person who is largely in charge of day-to-day operations, and yet they do not hire and fire any of the department directors. They do not in earnest oversee those departments. So it's we're in name only.
So we're going to have
that's where a lot of that dysfunction doesn't.
We're going to have a county manager is what it amounts to.
Right now, essentially, we have a manager of the county, but they don't hire, they don't fire, they don't have a lot of that delegated authority unless the board gives it to them. And so I can give you a slew of issues that have really suffered as a result of not having that sort of executive leadership designated by you all, the voters, and empowered to take action on a daily basis.
What's the increase in costs we have by increasing the number of members?
So we wrote in the ballot measure that we would not increase cost to taxpayers, that we have a $51 billion budget this year.
No.
So there's a lot of money. While the county has a number of challenges, as does the city, we believe that's a budget that should better serve the residents of Los Angeles County. So we're going to use the resources we already have to do that.
Right. Also, you're going to increase the number of people, almost doubling the number that you have there. There's always internally some difficulty with clicks beginning to develop and what have you. How do you feel you're going to be able to handle herding the cats, if you will, getting everybody in line to be able to do things with almost doubling your size?
Well, Measure G called for the creation of a governance reform task force. So that body has been appointed. Those meetings are public, and I encourage you to attend them. These are people who have been appointed not only by the Board of Supervisors, but from different constituencies, including a representative right from the business community in the Valley, David Phelps, who is making sure that all of these members are making sure that we look at the system of governance for the county, and that it's not only addressing what Measure G calls for in terms of governance reform, but there's also the creation of a charter reform commission going forward. So to hear your concerns and your suggestions around what else needs to change within Los Angeles County. So this isn't something that's being directed by the board. It was voted on by you, the voters, and now this governance reform task force is directing and advising the board on how the actual implementation of Measure G needs to take place.
Do you get along with all the present members that are on the board?
We work together on any number of issues. There are a lot of votes we take that are unanimous, There are some where we're divided, and I think it's good for healthy disagreement to make sure different perspectives are represented. But I love the team that I'm on.
There's a proposal by the governor for there to be a redistricting of the areas for elections that are coming up. And one of your members says that they wish now, if that happens, to run for Congress instead. Do you see some members, including yourself, vacating the positions to run for other offices?
I'm not. I know Supervisor Solis has announced that she will seek a seat in Congress, but she's actually termed out next year.
Okay. Do you have plans on running for mayor?
I do not currently have any plans to run for mayor, but I know that there are people who are asking me every single day about that. And I know that the city is facing a variety of challenges. And I'm doing my best to work with our city partners to make sure that we are effectively addressing those concerns.
Well, and I see we have other questions come up by board members. Right to you. Hang on for 1 second. Talking about the mayor, there was a directive from the president for flags to be flown at half staff, and she turned around and said no, she was not going to do it. Good decision or bad decision from your standpoint?
Well, I think the mayor is using her executive authority as she sees fit. The county
don't do that now. Is it a good decision or bad decision? Would you have done it? What would you have done?
Well, actually, the county gets to decide what we do in the county, and we've been following the proclamation that was made by the president, and so that's what the county's doing. So I think you get to decide what you think about your mayor. We get to decide what we're doing in the county.
Did you support the position of reducing putting the flags at half staff?
The county has followed.
I'm talking about you. Did you support that?
There wasn't an action taken by the Board of Supervisors. We follow the standard protocols. And just to be honest, I think weaponizing and politicizing a lot of these things is a distraction from the real issues that most people are thinking about. So I appreciate that you want to focus on that question, but I think there are actually more important questions that we should be facing.
There definitely are, but I think also it goes to what your focus is generally in.
My focus isn't on flags. My focus is on solving problems in your neighborhood.
Well, I got you on that. Let's talk about some of those too, especially with MTA. You sit on the board with MTA. One of the things that we're working on out here in the Valley has to do with transportation and trying to get some better transportation around in the Valley area. There's also issues going on with SB 79 having to do with what the transit's going to end up doing with allowing there to be additional buildings. What are you doing? One of the problems we're having is nobody wants to ride the buses. Nobody wants to get on. They don't feel safe at all. And I don't know anybody other than those that absolutely have to in order to get to some kind of work. What are you doing to make the buses safe so people will feel okay on getting on them?
So we have made significant investments in improving safety on buses, though I would say we still have more room to grow. One of the things that I've been calling for is an expansion of our transit security officers. These are the law enforcement officers that are responsible directly to Metro. And I would like to see there be a transit security officer on every single bus, because bus drivers, in the absence of such a security officer, often have to deal with these safety issues on their own and have had to put themselves in harm's way. In order to protect them, we've created safety barriers around bus drivers to keep them safe from some of the attacks that they've experienced. And we are also exploring how we implement weapons detection systems. We are also investing in a layered safety approach within our Metro system. And we have just recently hired a captain for a new law enforcement agency that will be led by the former police chief of San Francisco, who is now going to lead the process of establishing a community safety system for all of Metro.
Dennis, you've got a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so this is about mental health and drug rehabilitation, Lindsey. When asking other government officials, decision makers about this subject, they always kick the can toward the county. Mm-hmm. And in a personal matter, my wife and I have experienced mental health in our family.
So sorry.
And what we noticed was the facilities, like why would anyone that's homeless want to voluntarily go to these facilities? And I think I may have asked you this question when you were right at the beginning of your term. And now I guess my question would be, has there been any progress, being made in the treatment and, improving of these facilities, or the increasing the amount of these facilities, or, to make it a realistic option for folks on the street?
Yeah,
Where they'd be incentivized to actually, hey, you know what, I could use the help and this place can help me.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right.
Um,
There's a program that the state launched where we could apply, we could submit applications to expand beds for exactly the kind of service that you're describing throughout Los Angeles County. I don't remember offhand the number of projects that we submitted, but we did submit in our district to expand the presence of more mental health beds, and we were awarded in a few cases within the third district. Some of those were led specifically by the county's Department of Mental Health. Some of them were led through some of our community partners with the support of our Department of Mental Health. So we are continuing to invest in the expansion of these mental health and treatment beds. It's a requirement not only to meet the demands of SB 43, which I mentioned in my opening comments, but also just to meet what we see on the streets in our communities. I don't think we're building beds fast enough, which is why I asked for there to be a presentation to this board so we can hold accountable our department on those expectations, and also, unfortunately, manage the expectations of how quickly these things get done. As we know, building in the city and in the county has taken a long time, and we have to move faster to address the needs that we're seeing in our communities. But we also have to make sure that when we create beds, that they are the services, as you indicated, that are being provided to, not just beds in a room, because that doesn't make someone safer individually, nor does it make our communities safer for people to be warehoused without services or supports. So that kind of investment, we have, when we declared the state of emergency on homelessness earlier this year, we were also able to expedite hiring. We were able to cut through some of the bureaucratic parts of our civil service process. And the department that has been leading the way in hiring has actually been the Department of Mental Health, because we know we need more mental health professionals. So we've been actively recruiting. If you know folks on college campuses who are in these master's programs, we are trying to pipeline them into this county work, because we need, there's nationwide a shortage of mental health workers and social workers. So for anyone who's thinking about what they might do in their career, think about that, because there's definitely a need and there's a place for you at the county. But I do think that this is an area we still need to expand, despite the best efforts of state leaders and those of us on the ground. The way that we have been scaling to address this issue hasn't been fast enough, which is something we've been impressing upon our departments.
It takes a very special person to be able to handle those particular
Right.
challenges.
Hey, John, let me just expand a little bit before
I'm
before I let you guys move
Go
on
ahead,
to other
Dennis.
things.
You're locked up on me. You're locked
I'm
up.
sorry? Oh,
Yeah, did I
can
miss a part
you
of
hear me?
I didn't mean to miss a part of your question. So if I missed something, please let me know.
Dennis, what I wanted to add in.
Oh yeah, no,
Go ahead.
you were okay.
Okay.
So I just wanted to expand a little bit. That my experience was when I went to these places, and to console my family member. I noticed that there weren't any activities all day. They sat in front of a television set. They get 15 minutes at a doctor maybe twice a day. And some of these folks are beyond help a little bit, right? But it was pretty dismal. Like, why would anybody want to go to these places? And perhaps you or your staff, or you could get a ad hoc going or something to really look into how these places are run.
Mm-hmm. No, you're
Because that's what I saw. That there's an issue there, though, that doesn't make it attractive for anyone to want to go.
Yeah, well, and I think I think you raise an important issue. I know this is something that Judge Carter touched on in the Alliance lawsuit on homelessness, and the audit that was conducted of the city facilities. We have to make sure that it's not just what's written on paper, but the actual experience of it is delivering the kinds of results that we need to see in our communities, which is why, as I referenced earlier, the program that the county is focusing on is called Housing for Health. It has historically had the best track record of getting people wrapped in service, which is what keeps people not only in housing once they get off the streets, but in housing long term. And so that program really tailors their response to the individual needs of people, whatever issues they're presenting with, and make sure that they do it in a way that that the trust is built and they stay long term, because that's what's good for them, and it's also what's good for our neighborhoods. People don't want to see people just sort of shuffled around and cycled in and out. That's a waste of money, and it erodes public trust.
As you know,
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
the county has got control, if you will, of the mental health issues. And the question really comes up as to whether or not it'd be helpful for the city to also have similar type of agency. As you know, back in the COVID days, there were a lot of things that were being done that the city felt should have been done a little bit differently than what it was being done by the county. And there were some discussions about having the city having its own mental health department. Would you support that, or do you think that's a bad idea?
The county does have its own mental health department.
I'm sorry, the city, I'm sorry, that the city of LA does not. And the city has talked about having their own. Would you support that, or do you think it's a bad idea?
I don't think the city has the resources to properly staff a department of mental health. I think they already have budget challenges on the issues that they're supposed to be addressing now. So, I mean, if if money's being rained from the sky to do it, sure. I mean, we always welcome more resources being invested in this effort. But I think what's part of what the challenge is each individual council office sort of addresses these issues different from one another.
Sure.
And without that collaboration and coordination with the county, it frustrates everyone. It frustrates your council members, it frustrates the mayor, it frustrates us. This is why we created that center that I referred to earlier. It's the acronym for it is called the ECRC. And that's a place where we coordinate how people are getting those services and get into the care that they need. And I think that's going to help us stretch our dollars further rather than standing up and replicating a department that I think is better served countywide.
Shelley, you've got some questions. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining tonight.
Of course.
I think the community and the whole county is very excited that there's going to be oversight and looking at the money. But I think a big problem, it's a very nice title, Housing for Health, but there's been more and more studies coming out that the policy of housing first cannot be universally applied, and that it's not the best solution for many of the homeless on the street, and it's not the best solution for the communities in which they're being placed. For example, Andy Bales had an extremely successful program on Skid Row till he retired, where it wasn't the housing first model. He housed you. It wasn't your own apartment. It wasn't your own hotel room. And you had very strict goals that you worked towards. And as you accomplished, whether that was addiction, mental health, job skills, you slowly moved up as you reached those goals. The housing first model is great for developers and nonprofits that are becoming multimillionaires off it, but it's not very successful for the homeless community. You really can't take people off the street, put them into permanent supportive housing, let's just say, and offer the drug and rehab, but there's no requirement for them to take it. And that's the problem. You have people who want to be sober surrounded by people who are not sober. People who want to get off drugs are surrounded by people who are still using drugs. And so I think it's kind of the idea of doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome. And I think housing first is a problem as a overall success for all homeless on the street.
What do you think the priority should be on that, supervisors? Should it be dealing with the mental issues first, or does it have to be all of them kind of at the same time?
Well, I think there's a misunderstanding. I hear your concern, and I don't disagree that if all you do is put somebody, and I think I already said that, if all you do is just sort of put somebody in a bed in a box and hope for the best. That's not going to be good enough. There are a lot of challenges that people are facing from mental health, just from their physical health, from regardless of whether they're struggling with addiction or any other issues. So I completely agree that you can't just leave somebody alone in a room and expect that that's going to be enough to help them rehabilitate after being on the streets. I think what's interesting is there's this notion that housing first is this like very left-wing progressive idea. It actually started under President Bush. I think it started that way because the notion is sometimes these issues are best solved once you get somebody off the streets. I think what we saw with Measure H before the predecessor to Measure A was there was a lot of service provision that was coming onto our streets. We saw street teams going out and approaching people and providing services on the streets, and we certainly don't want people to suffer on our streets. But what that did was actually prolong the amount of time people were spending on our streets. And I think it actually allowed people to stay on our streets longer and create a worse problem instead of bringing people inside and wrapping them in service exactly as you're saying. So I don't want to get into semantics. I just want to be clear about what housing first is and is not.
Get rid of
People on the streets.
The services are not required. They're optional. And that's the problem. You don't have to take advantage of the services. And that
is a problem. What we hear from our police officers around is that the issue is not homelessness. It has to do with a mental issue and a drug issue. And the housing is not really what's going on. There's a lot that are out there that do not want the housing. They prefer to be out on the streets because that's where they can get their drugs. Or some of them are going into some of these halfway locations. But at nighttime, they go back out and do their drugs and come back in to have a safe place to sleep. So what are you hearing are the best solutions for us to do this? Is it housing or is it mental? Or what is the county doing for this to help get these people off the streets?
It's all of the above. So I want to be very clear. I'm not in disagreement with you. People who are suffering from mental health, from addiction issues, deserve to be getting all of that support in order to not only get off the streets, but hopefully get back to a healthy way of life. And I did serve with Andy for a short period of time on the LAHSA Commission, so I did get to know him and his program a bit. And so I appreciate you mentioning him here tonight. Part of the reason those services aren't mandated is because in many cases, they're not legally allowed to be mandated. And I think that was the intention of some of the legislative changes like SB 43 and like Care Court. Instead of sending people to jail for being homeless, the Care Court program was intended to divert people who were unhoused and ended up getting into trouble with the law for whatever number of issues, and divert them to a different kind of court that was supposed to get them into the very things that you're talking about, the treatment for mental health or addiction issues or whatever the contributing factors were. What we have seen, however, is that these legislative solves, well-intentioned as they have not, in terms of how they've been written, been able to be implemented on the ground in the ways that the drafters intended. And so I think what we need to do is have counties and state, if the state wants to get involved, they need to be working directly with us at the county so we can explain to them, that's a nice idea. It doesn't work that way on the ground. We need to make sure that, yes, people are getting off our streets, and they absolutely need to get those services. And, for those who are going to be mandated into treatment, we certainly want, nobody's going to get well on their own in jail or in a house without the services and care. That's the missing component. We do have services that are provided for those who are incarcerated. We have services who are provided for those who come off the streets and into housing, but making sure they get matched and that there is accountability on that service provision is part of what we're trying to address with this new, with both the new department and the coordinating center that is going to help bring people off the streets.
As you know, there's been some problems with the RVs clogging up our streets. And I understand, I don't know how truthful it is, that apparently the city has run out of money on being able to store some of these RVs. So just leaving them on the streets presently. They don't have a place to put them. Has the county looked at that? And is the county in any way trying to help the city with being able to find some place or some monies to be able to get those RVs off of the roads?
Yes. So the city, the county, and Metro have all identified whether it's available parking or parking lots or properties where these RVs can be relocated to get them off the streets. so people know that their RV is going to be safely kept, and we can get them into a more stable housing situation. A lot of effort has been placed into this. I know the city's encampment resolution program is called Inside Safe. Ours is called Pathway Home at the county. And one of the differences with Pathway Home is from the outset, we don't just put people in a motel and sort of let them linger there forever, or for some undetermined period of time. We, from the very day that we engage them on the streets, have identified a long-term housing solution that matches what people's needs are. And part of that effort, Pathway Home, has really focused on areas that have had these RV encampments that have been on our streets. Sometimes people get scared of leaving their belongings behind, and so that is a deterrent to them accepting service from the outset. So knowing that the county or the city are finding a location to temporarily hold their belongings so they're able to get what they need and acclimate themselves into a new home has actually led to successfully transitioning people out of those. So I think that's we have seen success stories, and we're continuing to invest in that through Pathway Home in the county.
Good. Marty, you had some questions. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this basically is an overall homelessness situation. As you know, we're here at the end of the valley. We're kind of the forgotten stepchildren of the city of Los Angeles. And people, we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars have been spent on this homelessness issue. And nothing seems to have changed. Look, paying the lady that used to head Wassa $500,000 a year was absurd for what she accomplished or didn't accomplish. What are the chances of actually seeing some of these homeless camps removed or moved to county land? There must be some available county land that is away from the basic core city, where people are living, that we can move these people to. If they want to get out of it, fine. If they don't want to get out of it, that's their choice. But, to continue these encampments, everything, high density areas, where a lot of homeowners are and a lot of families and children, it just seems so far, I've seen 5 years, 6 years of utter frustration with this. That you look at that, answer where you could possibly find a place to put these people.
So that is the challenge each and every day. As I mentioned, our Pathway Home encampment resolution program, we require that we identify a permanent housing solution for people to get them off the streets. And one of the challenges to the success of that program is not having enough identified places for people to go. So we're not secretly sitting on a stockpile of land somewhere. I know that there's sort of that notion out there. That isn't the case. We do look at all available properties, at least in my district. I believe it's been asked of other districts, but I can tell you, I have asked my own staff to identify available properties. We don't have a ton of available property in Los Angeles County in the 3rd district. Most of the 3rd district actually overlaps with the city of Los Angeles. So the opportunities that we've had to create housing solutions have largely been within the city limits of Los Angeles. So we've also worked with all of the independent cities, Santa Monica, West Hollywood, San Fernando, and so forth. So we've worked to but I hear you. We have to find solutions to get people off the streets. I think it's absolutely unacceptable to just let them linger and not get support and help. I think that there need to be faster solutions, though, using existing buildings that can be retrofitted. They don't need to have all of the bells and whistles. One horrible nightmare story that I heard, to your point, John, about what are some of the things that don't go well. When we overemphasize bureaucratic policies and then we get in our own way. There was a building, I believe in the city of Inglewood, that was completely vacant. The owner offered it as a place to turn over for, an encampment resolution effort. But because the height of the cabinets didn't meet the requirements for the policies for those who are disabled, the entire building needed to be retrofitted before it was considered as a solution to bring people into housing. I think people want to get off the streets more than people give them credit for. The issue that has happened is that many times they have been offered and they've taken those offers, and then they've been in some situations like you've described. They've lived next door to people who terrorize them in the middle of the night. They moved into conditions that were less safe than they felt on the streets. And so they go back out and they cycle sort of through this process. We can't allow for that. And we certainly can't allow bureaucratic nightmares to be the reason we're not getting people off the streets. So I think there are more practical solutions ahead of us, and using common sense about the magnitude of the problem that we have before us is what I've been trying to focus on.
I think at one point you're looking at County USC, the facility over there, which I think has been empty, to utilizing that, which I don't understand why that's not being used. I mean, it's got cafeterias in it, it's got bathrooms in it, it's got facilities for mental.
I didn't hear what you said.
For County USC, the old County USC medical facility.
That is going to be repurposed. The Supervisor Solis has been leading the effort on behalf of the county to repurpose that property. So that there are efforts underway to make sure we're using that property. I know Supervisor Hahn has been working with the state on a property, I believe in Norwalk, that was a state facility that's been out of commission for a long time that they're looking to repurpose and bring people onto. One thing that maybe you know about, but it bears repeating because it was something that I learned when I took this job. There is a provision in federal law that says that when it comes to provision of mental health services and creating these kinds of facilities, you can have no more than 16 units on a single site. So if you think about that, and the magnitude of the problem that we have, we're not going to solve it 16 units at a time in any sort of short order. So what we've been doing to sort of work around that in the county and in some locations, like on the Olive View campus, for example, we have multiple service providers providing to people on the same location. So that's sort of the policy workaround, but that's a wildly inefficient use of resources. And it's just disappointing the number of people we can serve at once. We've been trying to seek a waiver to that federal provision when Secretary Becerra was in the previous administration. We were not successful. We have renewed that effort with this administration in hopes that they can see that that kind of waiver would be incredibly helpful to us in Los Angeles County, even if they let us pilot it to show why having more people served at a single location helps us address these issues better. But that's been a significant obstacle to Los Angeles County.
Let us know if there's areas where we might be able to help too. As you know, the state legislature has been after us with trying to take away our local control over properties and basically trying to get rid of single family homes so that they can put up multiple apartments, try to get some type of affordable housing that's around it, hopefully to solve these particular problems. Do you think that getting rid of the single family homes is really a good idea for our community?
I'm not proposing getting rid of single family homes.
Well, I mean, let's hear, you're aware of SB 79, I'm assuming.
Yes, I am aware of SB 79.
And it's really tied into basically to the public transit routes too, that within a certain distance off of them, that there's going to be a lot of extra bonuses they can get if somebody wants to build in those particular areas. But there's no guarantees, obviously, that once they build those, that those routes are going to stay, unless there's been some tie-ins to that I'm not aware of. So where are we with that from the county standpoint? As you know, the mayor has said that they're opposing SB 79. Has the supervisors taken any position concerning 79 at all?
The county has not taken a position on SB 79. As you know, the legislature has passed it, and I believe the governor's going to sign it. And I think we're going to continue to see legislation coming from the state to local governments until we take seriously the fact that we have to build more housing. I am a local government person, so I understand that all housing can't go everywhere. The unincorporated areas of my district, the place where I essentially am the de facto mayor and have land use authority, is largely in the Santa Monica Mountains area. And I'm very upfront that we cannot solve density and homelessness issues in the Santa Monica Mountains, which is at risk of fire and other issues. So that's not something that that we're looking at in turn, and SB 79 won't have a critical impact. But I also think there's misinformation about SB 79. SB 79 doesn't say there won't ever be single family homes again. And SB 79 didn't say that they were going to build 7-story buildings in the Palisades fire burn footprint area either. So, I think part of what hurts a critical debate on an issue as important as SB 79 is the mis and disinformation campaign. I think shoving things down people's throats is not the best way to be doing policy.
Well, that's what's coming from us. I mean, obviously, from our standpoint, we've worked very hard for for our particular communities to have good control over it. I mean, we work for the 2035 specific plan here to control that as well.
Yeah.
And now it's been taken away from us without any kind of input to it for what appears to be wrong reasons from our standpoint. And also, I noticed that the letter from
And we do regional plans in our district too, in the county.
exactly. I noticed that the mayor sent off her letter on just on the 17th to the governor to say, please veto this. I think there's time for the supervisors to do the same. We would hope that you would. We don't think that's a good idea. That seems to be they're taking away the local control and don't need to do it. Kirk, I think you got some questions and you're able to speak. Go ahead. Kirk Thompson, go ahead.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, we
Go ahead, sir.
can.
Great. Hey, Lindsey, thank you for your leadership and bringing your leadership to the Valley here. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Kirk. That's kind.
The West Valley Food Pantry just opened here in June.
Yeah.
Here in Woodland Hills, brand new building, $7 million, I think, in government funds. The regional food bank has now decided they're no longer going to provide them with dry boxes for food, and the lines are dwindling. There's a big, brand new building here, and nobody's using it. Is the county going to step in and help feed these people? What's going to happen in this vacuum?
Well, thank you for raising that. We do provide, we have led the way actually in helping to permanently establish a nutrition program. There was a food program that was established in a temporary capacity during COVID, but I think it really illuminated the long-term needs that many communities have. Of course, there's always been efforts like the Regional Food Bank and what have you, and of course the West Valley Food Pantry, which we were proud to invest in and support. So we will continue to work to make sure that nutrition programs are provided throughout Los Angeles County, and I will reach out to them to see what's going on and how the county might be able to help.
Heath Kwan, you've got a question. We got about 5 minutes with the time here. Not much. Heath, go ahead with your question.
Thanks very much. Good evening, Lindsey. First of all, thank you so much for having your staff attend our local neighborhood council meetings. As someone that's been on the board for 25 years, I've seen your staff more in the last 2 years than everyone that preceded you in the preceding 20 years. So
I love my staff. Thank you for thanking them.
Daniel and everybody's great. So thank you. We've shared a common problem here in the hillside areas of Woodland Hills with the county area that you were just discussing in Topanga. And that's the fact that we're a, quote, severe high-risk fire zone. And as such, many of the residents here have all been tossed into FAIR plans. So we've seen our insurance rates go up 500% and have less coverage than we had before the fires. And thankfully, our community here has not burned. The wind always, takes the fire through Calabasas and not Woodland Hills. And we don't hope that it burns through Calabasas, but it's good that we haven't burned yet, and obviously that's good until the day it does happen. But what can you do to work with the city to improve community hardening and so forth, so we can get insurance companies to come back into the market?
Well, I really appreciate that question. John, I know you're going to watch time for me, so I'm going to give us an extra 10 minutes.
You got about 5 minutes, so give me 3 here to answer and we're done.
I know. I'm going to give you an extra 10 minutes so we get to at least one more question.
Okay.
I think this is important. The issues that we're facing are abundant, and I am absolutely devastated and heartbroken for everyone who has been victims of fires in 2025 and certainly before. But we know, as you indicate, that these challenges are also around the corner, which is why, as I mentioned, we're going to continue to do preparedness events to help protect communities. But we also have to make sure that that we're making smart choices in home hardening practices, and that, God forbid, something happens, that the insurance companies are actually providing people the resources they need to rebuild and continue their lives. And one of the things that we've learned is we're learning from one of the things we're learning from is the experience that happened in the UK with the floods in the early 2000s. They sort of went through a similar crisis with their insurance and floods and property damage, and recognizing that if the government sort of stayed on the same path that they were on, they were going to be bankrupt with the way that the climate was impacting certain areas in their country. So we're actually doing, in partnership with the Consul General of the UK, we're convening all of the experts that helped them transform their legislative process and their policies with insurance companies, and really understand how did they kind of really get into the guts of how do we do this differently, so insurance comes back into the market and people have a chance to be covered, that they can safely rebuild, that they have the resources they need to be taken care of, and grow the market. And so we're going to learn from their experience. That might not solve all of our problems, because obviously they have a different governmental system, but we have to make sure that everybody's at the table. And one of the things that we have done already, we created a blue ribbon commission in partnership with all of the experts. I think I referenced earlier, finance, insurance, green building, business, and so on, to talk about what a resilient recovery looks like. And so insurance was at the table, and they actually identified things that they said, if you do these things, we are likelier to come back into the market. And I said, well, it can't just be likelier. We need solid commitments. So we're actually at the table. I'm not the insurance commissioner, so I don't have his authority to do some of that work. But I think so many people in our district are suffering from this issue and not getting what they need from the California Fair Plan and from other agencies. So we're just trying to get under the hood as best we can. And please share your experience with us, because we're going to be bringing everybody to the table this fall to get into that question. And
It's
if
a,
you
it's a difficult issue. I handled some of the cases as a lawyer for the Woolsey fire, and the stuff that went on out there was pretty amazing. Getting permits to get properties rebuilt is almost like there should be some really speed line. If you're going to put the same walls you had before, just do it, right away. Is there any reason why we're not buying the super scoopers to come out here to fight fires? You're just ready.
I've talked about that with our chief, and it is actually more cost effective for us not to purchase them, but to lease them. And we have never not had access to them when we've needed them. The arrangement that we have actually works best. And because the technology that they use to do the repairs, some of it has gone out of business. So our chief on the county side, I don't know what the city's position is or how they've evaluated that, but from our side, the leasing model that we have is most cost effective and has never put us in a position where we haven't had equipment that we've needed.
I think we're thankful that you're there to be overlooking this to make sure it's being done properly. That's the biggest thing.
And I did miss a piece of Heath's question though about coordination with the city.
Yes.
We had I called for, with Supervisor Barger, an after action report specifically on the county's alert system, but we also as a county are doing 2 other comprehensive after action reports, because people have a lot of questions about what did and didn't happen. One of the things that I think was sorely lacking is I think, and maybe this is a funny way to say it, but sort of honoring the jurisdictional distinctions that exist between city and county. And you alluded to this earlier, John. In the Palisades area, wherever the city of Los Angeles is incorporated, the city of Los Angeles fire departments are the lead agency. The county fire departments are lead in the unincorporated areas and in all the areas that are encompassed in the county fire district. So in my district, that's West Hollywood, Malibu, San Fernando, some of the cities you referenced, Calabasas, Hidden Hills, Westlake Village, and so on. And so those having those different lead agencies doesn't mean one is better than the other, but that's sort of how we stationed and staged in preparation for the fire season that we experienced this year.
Well, we're technically at 8:30 at this point in time. I see that Chris Rose got a question. Do you want to take it? She can be a little bit longer sometimes.
Yeah, I said I'll give you another 10 minutes.
Okay, so Chris
so
Rowe,
can I just finish this part?
Make it short now. Go ahead, Chris.
But can I just finish this
Yes.
part?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I think
Forgive me. I'm sorry.
no, that's all right. I think what we need to do, one thing that we need to do better, that there's this question around the city's reservoir that LADWP was responsible for that was empty. The county doesn't have a role in that. That's city and LADWP decision, and I think the city's doing its own after action around some of those issues. And we need to explore what did and didn't happen right. But we have to do better. We did this after Woolsey, and I think that's what put us sort of in our area in a better position, where the county was sort of leading in Malibu and some other areas. It's not that it's not that anything other than we've been through this experience, and our sheriff's captain and our fire captain who are on the ground have been coordinating and doing evacuation trainings and drills and education summits and responding to fires repeatedly with each other for so long. It sort of became second nature. I think we need to be doing that across jurisdictions and in a way sort of forget the lines between city and county and just do it throughout the region so everybody is familiar with that, and it's not like, well, I don't know what the city's doing or I don't know what the county's doing. I think that's unacceptable.
Chris, go ahead with your question. Keep it short though, will you?
Yes.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, I spoke to you when you came the last time. I brought up the Santa Susana Field Lab, and I'm going to make this very quick.
Okay.
I'm very appreciative. I read all your emails, and so I've been very appreciative. I agree. I think Heath said that you represent us better than any of the other supervisors, even though you don't live in the valley. But
No, thanks for forgiving me for that.
and I know when you go to these events because I read your emails. But the one issue is, have you personally ever gone to the Santa Susana Field Lab?
Yes.
Have you ever met with DTSC staff?
Yes.
And have you sent your staff people up to the site? And do they go attend meetings? Because I want to tell you that, for example, when we did redistricting the last time, you brought up how you have business involvement in these various commissions and things. When we did redistricting last time, I was one of two people basically for the valley that were regulars that represented the San Fernando Valley. And one was Stuart Waltman, the president at the time of VICA, and the other one was me, drawing maps and sending letters into the districting committee.
Yeah.
And I wrote an article for City Watch even before redistricting, asking for 11 districts, and that's available online. So the issue that I would like to bring up is the ongoing litigation holding up the cleanup, and I think the county should not be suing and engaged in that because there's so much misrepresentation. I've been involved with Santa Susana since 2006. The Woodland Hills Warner Center Neighborhood Council, the former members of West Hills Neighborhood Council, former members of Chatsworth Neighborhood Council, and some of the current,
Chris, it sounds like your question really has to do with whether or not the litigation is holding up them taking care of that.
It is holding up, and I would like the county not to be involved with this litigation that's currently going on.
We're short on time. Let's hear what a response is to it. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
So the county is not in active litigation on this issue. County council is monitoring the issue. The litigation is with the state, and so I was just informed that there's something coming in terms of what the next steps will be at the on the Santa Susana Field Lab site, and what Boeing is preparing to do with regard to the latest agreement that they have with the state and the cleanup levels that they've indicated. So there isn't actually, from my understanding, any litigation that's holding it up. I think there's a desire for there to be, there is an expressed desire from some, I'm very clear, not from you, for there to be more litigation, because for some people, it has been very expressly made clear to my office that there are some people who do not believe that the current agreement honors what enough of what the original agreement was and puts people in harm's way. There are others who have communicated to my office that people are already in harm's way by not doing the cleanup at all, and this extended period of time being exposed to this area without cleanup has been harmful to the community. So we have visited, I have visited, my staff has visited, we do regularly meet, we are tracking this issue closely, and I really appreciate you sharing your opinion with me tonight about it.
Well, thank you much. We have a very special supervisor and you, Lindsey Horvath. We appreciate you being here. Andrew had an interesting comment here too. It says, Lindsey is amazing. Can she add District 2 to her plate? We need some help down here. So we thank you for the work that you're doing, and we certainly thank you for your time and spending with us this evening, answering our questions and give us an idea of what the supervisors end up doing and what they're going to be able to do and what you're doing. We're thankful for you being there. We're thankful for you reaching out to the community to help us as well in all of this. So I deeply appreciate that. And we want for our members to know this is what we try to do, is to provide information to you and also to try to help with what's going on with the development in these particular areas. Join with us, if you will, October 22nd. So we'll have Representative Jesse Gabriel with us to be talking about it. Supervisor, thank you. Have yourself a blessed evening, and we hope to see you again here with us soon.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you. Even when we disagree on issues, the opportunity that you give my office to work with you is one we always appreciate. And I certainly am grateful that I get to represent you. And I hope that as needs come up, you will trust us with the opportunity to help. Thank you.
Thank you. God bless.
Thank you.
Good work. We'll talk again soon. Good night to you all. Thank you all.
Night.